with the power rankings, it's a bit of a tough one here. But week 4 power rankings, like I said earlier, a couple teams dropping off, a couple teams coming back in to the top 5, either coming back in or making their first appearance of the season. And there is definitely one team that has slid and one team that has slid even harder. But starting us off at number 5, we have the Las Vegas Raiders. They're 3-0. They're looking like a really solid team. Surprising a lot of people. Derek Carr, MVP candidate, and they just got a big win over overtime. Showed some grit there. And they're a division leader. You got to put respect on a team that's undefeated, that's gone against 3 good teams, and that's been able to pass each test so far. The Raiders there are at number 5. Number 4, staying in the same place as they were last week, not necessarily because they played poorly. Well, there's kind of a bit worrying seeing the Cardinals play the Jags as close as they were early on. I was a bit nervous seeing that score. I was like, oh, really? Are they actually going to lose? Am I actually going to get that game wrong? But no, the Cardinals pulled off. They win, and they go on to win by a good margin there as they take this game 31-19. Bit of a worrying game, I guess, early on, but the Cardinals do it. I'm not going to knock them for that performance. But also, given the 3 teams above them, I am not going to raise them from number 4. Now we're at number 3. We're going to roll to the team that was last week's number 1. They lose in week 3, so they get bumped down. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are now down to number 3, and it's not necessarily because they play poorly, but the 2 teams below them won, and they lost. And I still am not so I still think that the Bucs are one of, if not the most overrated team in the league. But they haven't proved that yet. It's still technically just a hunch on my part that we'll have to see later in the season. But right now, Bucs, number 3. Number 2 is going to be a team where if we just forget about how they played in week 1, this is easily one of the best teams in the league. And so, rightfully so, they're the best team in the AFC at this point. They're the most well put together team in the AFC at this point. They have the best quarterback still, at least in terms of potential. Maybe he hasn't produced just yet, but maybe not the highest producing quarterback in the conference just yet. But he is still the best one there in terms of the teams that are leading their divisions. And one of the better defenses, and it's been a really good team, especially because that running game is finally coming along. That was one of their biggest weaknesses last year, and essentially why they weren't able to go further last year is because they didn't have a run game. Josh Allen was leading them. It felt like half the season at least, but the Bills are the second best team in the league right now. They're number 2 on the power rankings, and now in number 1, who else but the team that's the best team in the league, the team that just knocked off the defending Super Bowl champions, and the team with one of the best defenses and arguably the best quarterback, wide receiver tandem in Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp in the league. It's the Los Angeles Rams. They were number 2 last week. They move up to number 1, and it's very well deserving, and they're easily looking like the best team in the league, and that's to be proven right. As last week, I pushed back on the whole statement that saw a lot of people talking about how good the Bucs are, how they're head and shoulders above the competition, pointing out some really good flaws there, or some really major flaws, and look how that turned out. Of course, so 5-1, we had the Raiders, Cardinals, Bucs, Bills, Rams, and dropping off from last week is the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers. But let me know what your power rankings look like. Would love to see all of that. Of course, this will be on our socials, dropping Wednesday, the same day as this show. So go ahead and check that out and let me know your thoughts on that.